is going to introduce herself shortly. You would be expecting Sam, but she's not here tonight because she's not feeling too good.
Hi, everyone.
Introduce yourself now.
Certainly, yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha Lee Howe. I'm an author of thrillers these days, but I'm also an author of horror and fantasy under the name Sam Stone. But you probably might know more about me from this book, which is The Stranger in Our Bed, which is my first thriller published last year by HarperCollins. One More Chapter.
There you go. We've both got one.
I won't ask you if you're enjoying it, Kaz, because I won't put you on the spot. one of these days I'll ask somebody that and I'll get told no, it's awful.
I am so far, but I am only 28. I only started picking it up like at tea time. So
oh, bless you.
I'm 28 pages in.
There's nothing worse than being dropped in it, is it? Right, you're going to interview Sam and you've not read the book yet, and they say, you go, oh, and that's to me. I'd be like hyper now, going, oh my god, what am I going to ask her?
I'm really interested in your alter ego, Sam Stone. Tell us a little bit more about the horror and Doctor Who and things.
Oh yeah, I've got quite a backlist on there. My Sam Stone books. So I've got a vampire series which is called The Vampire Gene, and there's 6 books in that series at the moment. So if people like Queen of the Damned meets Quantum Leap with a dash of Hellraiser, that's kind of how I describe that series, because there's vampires, there's time travel, there is lots of myth and magic in a way as well. So it's quite an eclectic series. I'm one of those writers, I can't write the same book twice. So each book in that series, every bit's different. The first one is kind of like a standard horror. If you like Anne Rice, you might think it isn't like the Vampire Lestat, but that sort of thing where it's a one narrative narrator, one voice narrator. And then the second book becomes horror fantasy, and the third one is definitely fantasy. And the fourth thereon become a little bit more sort of myth and magic and sci-fi, and then we become high-tech thrillers by book 5. So they're kind of, I just love messing around with the genres really and mix and matching. And the other things I've got with the Sam Stone titles is, if anybody here likes a bit of steampunk, so I've got my Cat Lightfoot Mysteries. So again, I dabble into the mystery sort, but it's basically a Victorian demon slayer called Cat Lightfoot, and the first book is called Zombies at Tiffany's, and each of the books are kind of riff on something. They're all original stories, but they kind of play homage to something. So for example, Zombies at Tiffany's is kind of Breakfast at Tiffany's meets Shaun of the Dead in a Victorian steampunk New York. So it's kind of action-packed and fun, and there's a little bit dark humour in there. And then as well, I've got sort of, a Jinx trilogy, so a bit of sci-fi fantasy, which is aliens attacking Earth, and sort of, people have described it as an 80s sort of, an 80s horror sort of thing, but it isn't really. The way I see that one is Independence Day meets Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. that's the way I describe that one. I like to give it these little brands. So it's different, it's different again. And then I've got a couple of collections if people like Lovecraftian horror, because I've spent quite a lot of time being invited to write for Lovecraftian collections and Cthulhu monsters type stories, which I've really enjoyed. And after a while, I realised I had so many of them that I had to make a first collection, and then I had a lot more and had to make another one. So, and then if you want to try some of that Sam Stone type of titles, I've also got my Zombies in New York and Other Bloody Jottings, which is, it's kind of a bit of a taster of what I do in that genre. And so what we've got in that book is short stories that I've got zombies, vampires, werewolves, a bit of erotica, got crime fiction in there. And sometimes those things are mixed in genre. So I might have like my vampire solving a crime. There's a Ripper story in there that's sort of science fiction-y. So that kind of thing, really. I'm quite eclectic in that sort of in those genres. I like to, well, the sky's the limit, really, isn't it? With fantasy, you can do what you like, really. So that's sort of it.
And the Doctor Who DVD?
The Doctor Who connection, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my husband David is David J. Howe, and he's the writer of many, many Doctor Who analysis books. He was the official biographer with John Pertwee, worked with him on his autobiography. And for many years, David has been very involved in Doctor Who. And when we met, I sort of ended up falling into that too. And both of us were very involved in a DVD, a film that was ended up being split into 6 parts and became a DVD, which is called The Demons of Devil's End, or the actual story within that DVD. It's called The White Witch of Devil's End, which is a 6-part drama. With one of the characters taken from the John Pertwee era, which is Olive Hawthorne. So we both did a Doctor Who spin-off there. And that was it really. And we go to lots of Doctor Who conventions, which we really love. And they actually, Doctor Who fans are so good at enjoying so many genres. They're super to be around because they love horror, they love fantasy, they love science fiction. And now they're even enjoying my crime, which is also good.
They're quite they're always quite nice. I go to a lot of comic conventions with my husband because he makes kind of cosplay things. Sells.
Oh, great! Oh, what's his favorite? What's his favorite cosplay?
I don't know that he cosplays often. He sort of tends to wear things that he makes. So he tends to wear like random ears and things that he makes. My favourite picture of him is one I've got next to Chewbacca. Someone dressed as Chewbacca at a Comic-Con because he's really tall and he was taller than Chewbacca.
Wow. Oh.
we met a Doctor Who. We met an original Cyberman once at
right.
Comic-Con.
Oh yeah.
We didn't know who he was. He was really nice.
Oh my gosh. Did you figure out who he was later on?
Yeah, when he was on the Doctor Who panel.
Which one was he? Which Doctor was he?
He wasn't a Doctor. He was an original Cyberman.
Oh, a Cyberman. Oh, right. Was it? Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think who it would have been. I can't think now. I know some of the more later ones, like John Davy, who plays Cybermen and all sorts, and Spencer Wilding does all sorts of different, characters, creatures for Doctor Who as well. But yeah, they're so tall, a lot of these guys, aren't they? I feel tiny next to them. I'm 5'4". I'm not really short, but I just go, oh. I mean, Spencer Wilding, I think, is about 6'6". He's huge.
That's how tall my mister is. So we've got a few comments. Jason, our admin, says hi. Hi
Jason.
So does TG. She writes as TK Gearing. Probably very similar to your heart as well. She likes to blend genres and things.
Fabulous. I'm going to check yours out.
Jason says, congratulations on the film deal. I'm talking about writing for Doctor Who and things. So there's a film deal of The Stranger in Our Bed and you wrote the screenplay?
I did, yes. Yeah, it was really exciting to have the opportunity to do that because I wanted to do some more screenwriting. I have actually got a degree in English and writing for performance, specialising in screen, which I did a few years ago before I went into teaching. And I just wanted to use it a bit more, use the skills. But it was interesting because there's quite a few. You think to yourself, oh, I can easily transpose my novel into a screenplay because I see when I write, it's very visual anyway, and I do sort of see it unfold as a film. But then when you come to it, transforming one media to another isn't that easy. And so obviously some decisions had to be made, some changes to the story had to be made, which I won't go into because of spoilers. But with COVID and everything, we had to change timelines and certain things that happened, we had to, adapt and do slightly different. But it was a really interesting exercise. And I think next time I do it as well, I'll feel a lot more confident about it. And I was confident. One of the good things about doing this as well, when you work with a production company like Terry Dwyer's production company, Buffalo Dragon, is that they're very, very collaborative and hugely supportive. So I always felt all along, if I wasn't certain about something, I was going to get great feedback that would help me, develop the plot and develop the screenplay in such a way that it would look great on screen. And fingers crossed. Well, I'll let you be the judge of that when you all see it, whether I did a good job or not. I'm kind of dreading a backlash on it, but
So how did the interest come about? Who approached you to make
it was Terry Dwyer from she was set up. She's an actress that was in Hollyoaks. She's got a CV it's longer than my arm. It's just, she's been an actress and done so many things. She was also a Loose Woman, on Loose Women. She was one of those presenters on there. She'd been presenter. And Terry has started her own production company. And but last year she actually or was it last year she actually did a film, or was producer on a film called Break. And I think this kind of gave her the I'm only speculating, but gave her the idea perhaps to do her own production company. And so she started Buffalo Dragon mid last year. And then she was, with COVID and lockdown, it was kind of like, well, I want to make a film, but what can we do in these circumstances? And she was looking for a thriller. Anyway, she read the book, absolutely loved it. We had some chats. She realised I could write the screenplay, which was also a big plus. And we said, let's do this, and it happened. So what was really wonderful was how quickly she was able to pull this off, because we were actually filming by the 18th of November. They started filming, and they completed shooting by the 23rd of December. And so within a month, the whole thing was in the cab. And they've got this fantastic director called Giles Alderson, who's also, I don't know if any of you guys are into horror, but he's just done a film called The Dare. You may have seen The Serial Killer's Guide to Life, which he was producer on. So Giles is really, really, having a great deal of success at the moment, and he was chosen to be the director on the film, and he's just been fantastic. So the cast as well, oh my gosh, it's like the dream team. Samantha Bond, for goodness sake, as Isadora. I couldn't have wished for anybody better. And Emily Berrington, oh my gosh, she's so gorgeous. She makes the most beautiful Charlotte. But the revelation actually has been her husband, Ben Lloyd Hughes, who plays Tom. And wow, you're going to like that performance. He is superb. He really is. Very, very good.
So I'm going to read you some more of the questions on here. So Jason wanted to know, because you talked about doing steampunk, you've got some other books coming out that you can mention in this as well, haven't you? So
yeah, sure. Yeah.
This, it's kind of a psychological thriller. You've got vampires and werewolves and all sorts. What other genres would you like to have a go at?
I'll have a go at anything, I'm not really a big romance writer, I'll be honest. But I actually have a secret guilty pleasure in the fact that I like reading historical romances. I do actually enjoy them. But I'm very eclectic in my reading. So I like to think that if I really, really wanted to try my hand to something, I could give it a go. I've kind of hit a lot of my bucket list now. I mean, going into thrillers now has been a big thing. I was a little scared of it at first, because I thought, I did do it. All of my stories are mysteries anyway, that there's always a mystery unfolding. And I kind of, when I look back at it now, I really was that kind of writer anyway. But then it's writing sort of like mainstream and not doing a supernatural twist where you can, almost have a reset button or make it be anyone you want, is actually a lot harder than writing horror for me. But I love the challenge. So anything that I'm asked to do, I just love rising to the challenge of it and giving it a go. It's lovely to experiment and just see what you're capable of. It's like the new books that are coming out, The House of Killers. And this is spy espionage, in the vein of Killing Eve meets Jason Bourne. And for me, that was hugely challenging, because I had to I always do a lot of research anyway, but the research I had to do was you know, had to be accurate, had to sound believable, had to, there had to be no MacGuffins here at all. You didn't just rely on character study, if you like, as well, of personalities. Yes, you've got that as well, but because of the nature of the story, I had to understand about MI5, how they work, had to understand, what could be believable in terms of, what could happen in the spy world. I looked a lot at, because one of the themes of the books are, brainwashing and hypnosis. I read a lot of stuff where that has been researched and actually been attempted and successfully achieved. There was a professor in America. I think he ended up brainwashing somebody who turned out to be the Unabomber, for example. So I do an awful lot of reading around. None of that actually ends up in the book, but what it does is it reinforces my belief in what I'm writing, that I'm writing something that could actually happen, and it's convincing. I've also got a fantastic consultant, or two, shall I say, that helped me with a lot of technical stuff to make it, for me to understand it, and then for me to translate it into a not layman's terms, but in a way that the reader isn't feeling they're being preached to, but it comes out naturally, within the story. But you understand it without going into the usual explanations of, oh, such and such means this, which I find incredibly boring when I read a book. If they're going to too much technical stuff, I kind of go, whoosh, that's gone. I don't need to know that. I want to know the story. I just want to know, can you convince me that that can happen? I mean, I've looked into hacking phones, black hat hackers, taking over planes with an iPad. You would not believe the research that's had to go into just, these three books. But I'm really proud of them, and they're very, very different from anything I've done before. So hopefully you guys will like it when they come out. First one's out in 3 weeks on Friday, The House of Killers.
Do you ever wonder if anyone's going to come and ask you questions about your search history?
I do. I'll tell you a little story about when I was doing the Zombies in New York collection. I decided I was writing a story about a gay civil servant with a clown fetish. And you should have seen the research I did about clown fetish. I don't know what I'd say if any of my family ever looked at what I was looking at. But I'll never look at clowns again the same way. I never will.
A lot of just delete your history every now and again.
Yeah. I mean, you can get these VPNs, can't you? But I look at it this way, that I mean, and I live in Spook Central. I live in Lincolnshire, and I'm surrounded by RAF Digby and Waddington and everywhere. And I think to myself, if these guys actually got some kind of alarm going, that she's looking at how to take over a plane, or well, I could go, well, look, actually I'm a writer. And I could sit there and smile, and hopefully they won't drag me off in a van somewhere, because I think I can prove what I'm actually doing. But I also think, when you do this research and when you get advice from people who are in the know, you've also got a great responsibility to not give away too much of how these things are actually done, but more suggest that it's possible, or actually, in fact, write it in such a way that they believe the characters are doing it, but not actually teach someone how to do it. I think that I've got a massive responsibility not to do that. And I have to admit, I forget how to do it as soon as I've written it all. I really do. Cheers.
Cheers. So you live in my home county of Lincolnshire.
I do. Yes. Do
you meet any other, because there's quite a lot of good crime authors that live in Lincolnshire. Do you have any real life author contacts that you like to meet up with? Or
yeah, I've got you may not know George. I mean, George Mann writes the he's a fabulous local author. He does the Newbury and Hobbs. So he does he's not really steampunk, but sort of an alternative sort of steampunky world that's very successful. He also writes a lot of Star Trek spin-off stuff now he's doing, and hugely successful writer, George. So he's one of my friends. He's also on my radio show in the days when we could do it, because I had a radio show at the University of Lincoln, which was called the Stone Tapes. obviously not done that for a long time. We did do a Christmas special all by Zoom recently, well, you know, last year. But obviously we've not been able to go into the studio and things. We're not really doing anything at the moment. Let me see, who else do I know? Oh, Adrian Tchaikovsky. But again, these are more fantasy authors. I'm trying to think crime-wise. Who do I know crime locally? I don't know, actually. I'm trying to think. I probably do.
Because
I
there's
probably
Nick
do, but
Wells is he's Lincolnshire based.
oh yes, yeah,
And there's Philippa
yeah, of course, yeah,
EU.
yeah. I'm sure, do you know, I'm hoping to get to Harrogate this year. And, you know, if it does happen, which I think a lot of us are really hoping will happen, and that we've all got, you know, the jab. But I am hoping to make a lot more writer friends. I made such a lot in 2019 when I went for the first time. And those people that I met there have carried on, and we've in contact, like the lovely Abby Frost stroke Chris Curran, gorgeous lady. I've really like Jackie Baldwin, Scottish crime she writes, which is fabulous. And a lovely girl called Sarah Linley, whose first book was out last year as well, called The Trip. And we've all made sort of friends at Harrogate, and we've kind of carried on. And I'm just hoping that that whole sort of crime writer family is going to grow, and that I'm going to get to know a lot more people. And now I know you're locally, we need to go out for coffee when we can.
I'm not local. It's my home.
Oh, it's your home, so you don't live here anymore. You don't live in the area.
No, we moved when I was a baby.
Oh, right,
I've never
right.
been back.
It's quite fun here. I like it here, I must admit.
It's a lovely place. I have been back to visit. It is lovely. But yeah, I don't live there anymore. I'm not too far away.
They do steampunk conventions here every August as well, which is great fun. If you know, like your husband likes to do his cosplay and stuff, coming out and getting some steampunk on's always a bit of fun, you know.
Oh, you got some offers for a coffee here. So Sarah
Oh, cool.
Mackenzie is watching, and she put on that she says she's come in late, so she hopes she doesn't repeat anything, but she has just downloaded your book.
Oh, hi Sarah. Thank you for that. Really appreciated.
Just over the bridge in Humberside, and would happily go for
Wow.
coffee.
Oh, fabulous. Oh gosh, I can't wait to be able to go out for coffee. I can't imagine it at the moment. It's going to be so lovely when we can.
I know it's going to be
Not long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to know if once your books are converted to TV, etc., does it put extra pressure on your writing ability?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a great question. As you know, what really put pressure on me last year was because Stranger in Our Bed did so well. When I was writing The House of Killers, and I knew that was very different from Stranger, I was a little bit worried and a bit freaked out. And I think it's natural, because I think actually all authors suffer from imposter syndrome. You know, we all think we're never good enough. We always think that everything, the latest thing we're doing, I go through phases of it where I start it and I'm really enthused and I think, this is wonderful, I'm doing a really good job. And I'll get sort of like to 20,000 words through, and then I start panicking, thinking, oh, it's not good enough, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. And I go through a period of that it's rubbish, but I struggle on. And then I get to a bit further on, I start to love it again. I think, and I'm loving it anyway, but I'm sort of like worried. I think the more you do, the more you overthink it sometimes. And I think nowadays I overanalyze my writing a lot more than I used to. And, you know, I used to just tip it all out, write it, and then worry about editing. And I tend to do a lot more editing now as I'm going along, which is good because the first draft comes out pretty good. But it slows the process down a little, and it gets you anxious because you think, am I doing, is it good enough? You know, worrying about it. So I think you're always under pressure. And I think if any previous success, the next thing you're always a bit more under pressure because you want that to be as good or do even better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. Jason has stolen my question slightly, but he's twisted it a bit. And he says, which of your books would you like to be made into a graphic novel?
Oh, Zombies at Tiffany's would be a fabulous graphic novel. And actually, I was in talks with someone about that many years ago, and it just never happened. But I really thought it would be great. And also the vampire books would. I think they would all really lend themselves to that. I think it would just be great fun. But I love art, and you know, and it's one of those things that art and words and story just so go together, don't they, in every sense? So, but I don't know whether the thrillers would work as a graphic. I wouldn't have thought so. I think more the you know, the sort of science fiction or the fantasy or the horror works better, perhaps.
So going back to The Stranger in Our Bed, who is your favourite character in it?
Oh, that's interesting. I think it's, well, I really like Ewan. I really like Ewan. I love Becky because she's Ewan's sister without giving anything away. But she is also a good sounding board for Charlotte, who's the main character. Charlotte, obviously, I like, she's my main character, but some people find her really annoying. And I will say to anybody who says, oh, she got on my nerves, she was annoying, that was the point. She was meant to be. And not because just she was annoying, but one of the themes in this book that is really important to me that was coming across is how women, or anybody actually, a man or a woman or anybody, can find themselves in a relationship where they are being emotionally abused, manipulated, somebody who has them under total financial control. And that person is so good at manipulation and twisting things back on them that for a lot of time, you in that situation end up second guessing yourself and always think that you are the wrong one. And that is the point of being with somebody who's a narcissistic personality, who is controlling your life, and dealing with people who are sort of giving you sort of, oh, what do they call it? Oh, I'll come back to that in a minute. But just, you know, putting you down in one way or another, but always in the way of making themselves not seem to put you down. And a lot of women have found themselves in a position where they're married to somebody that they know they're not happy, they know things aren't right. That person hasn't physically abused them, so it's a bit harder to say this person has hurt me, but this person is hurting them mentally, you know, and causing them a great deal of stress and a great deal of pain and a great deal of unhappiness, and gaslighting them, perhaps, you know. And it's very easy to be in that situation and then think to yourself, when they go and do something that is completely nice, that you've imagined it all. And that is one of the very strong themes in this book. And it also explains why Charlotte, you know, constantly forgives certain people in the book, because she's been so under the thumb that she doesn't see what's really wrong right away. And I think that's, you know, and I know, and I've known women like that. I know women who've been in that situation. And so yes, I love her because I love how she turns out as well at the end of that, without giving anything away. So hopefully no spoilers there. Trying to talk around it without going, oh, this happens.
Yeah, I am sorry to no spoilers, because like I said at the beginning, I'm only 28 pages in.
Yeah.
What I kind of like so far about it is that none of the characters are very nice.
Yes.
Like, I
Yes.
don't really like anyone, but I don't like anyone because they're kind of
Yeah.
very real.
Yes. Yeah. And
But,
it's one of the things I was trying not to pull my punches on, is like, people sometimes aren't very nice. And you know, and this is real. This is what, you know, abusive personalities are like. This is what people who are suffering those situations are like, what they go through, what they do to get out of that. Yeah, I like that. I like your response to that. That's good.
then there's a good question on here. I don't know who it is. I'm just gonna have a look. Oh, it's Jason. He says, "Is there subjects that you wouldn't write about?" So you've obviously tackled quite sort of
Harsh themes in this one, yeah.
yeah.
I think I think I've pretty much in my horror stuff covered a lot of things. In the Jinx stuff, because it's like an apocalypse, I cover an awful lot of dark nature of people. And one of the themes exploring that is, are the aliens the real monsters, or is it the humans? And I think we as humans are capable of so much evil and so much dark. Um, and of the things we do to each other, just, in the name of whatever reason that people do things to each other. So I've explored, sexual abuse. I'm less keen on going down that route with children. I have, in certain films, touched on it, but I wouldn't go into any graphic detail. I really couldn't go there because I just couldn't. But I used to say years ago that I'll write anything, I can write anything. Um, um, but I think that's probably the only place I wouldn't really go into any detail. I might, have a child who has been abused, but I wouldn't necessarily go into the graphics of that, because that just would break my heart. I couldn't do it. And I would never do anything about abusing animals either. Just really couldn't. So I suppose that's it, really. But otherwise, anyone else is fair game. So any other character is fair game for death, murder, whatever needs to be done.
What are your feelings about writing about things like the pandemic?
I'm not going to do it. Because I think, having lived through it right now, I just don't think people need to read it. I think it's the worst thing in the world to read about. And strangely though, I have been watching The Stand, and that starts off very, very pandemic. And like I know people have watched the film Contagion. I'm not there. I can't do it at the moment. I'm over the actual fear of the COVID thing now, because I'm seeing like we're at the end of the tunnel, and you can't live in that constant fear of, I may get this and I may be one of those unlucky people that can't fight it off. But I just don't think I think we need to, at the moment, read other stuff, and we've lived it, so why write about it? I might refer to it in books, but then you'd be dating the book. You'd be saying, oh well, that's now set in that book in that period, or but I know a lot of people are writing lockdown stories and lockdown, it's just, no, not for me. I'd rather just keep doing, writing about the world as I want it to be again, and as it was before, in a way, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. T wants to know, do the changing seasons affect your writing?
Oh yes, what a great question. Oh yes, I often, if it's winter and it's snowing outside, I'm often writing a snowy scene. I'll go, yeah, that's another there, or sunny, or yeah, all the time. They do. Isn't that funny? I hadn't really thought of it. I do that all the time. Do you do that, T, as well? Do you do it? That's a good question,
that. My dad says hi all.
Hi.
And Sarah wants to know, hi Dad. And Sarah wants to know, were you a reader as a child?
Oh gosh, yes. I actually, when I look back, I've always been a writer. I used to be, it's the weirdest thing. When I was a child, I went to school and I didn't like reading out loud. I was, you might not believe it, I was incredibly shy. And I didn't like reading out loud. And at primary school, they always used to make you stand up in front of the class to read into the teacher's ear, and the whole class is looking at you, I used to hate it. And I also used to hate the books they gave us because they were always very boy orientated. I didn't want to read stories about somebody doing scuba diving or going down deep sea diving in a big thing on his head. And I guess I was always into fantasy and, a bit more exciting stuff than that. So when I discovered I was a writer, I was 11 years old, and I picked up, my mum was a prolific reader. There was always books all over the house. She was tons and tons of books brought back from the library, piles and piles of them. And she would go through, oh gosh, about 5 books every 3 weeks, maybe more. And so obviously by that, we were always picking up books and reading them. Now at school, they actually gave me extra reading classes because they thought I couldn't read. But I was absolutely bored to death with the children's books. So when I was 11 and I picked up this book that my mum was reading, it was called The Collector by John Fowles. And it was, guess what? A psychological thriller. and it was about a guy who wins the lottery, starts to become obsessed about a girl, kidnaps her because he's now got the money to do it, and the story progresses from there. And I was 11, so it was a very grown-up book. And I read it, and I closed the last page, heart pounding, and thought, I want to do that. I want to write books like that. And it was just one of those moments where, that, no, I don't know if it's a light bulb or whatever it was, but went on. And I just knew as a writer. So after that, I started picking up every adult book I could read. So I read historical romances, anything my mum was reading, I'd be grabbing it as soon as she finished it. Lots and lots of thrillers. I started on Stephen King, Dean Koontz, and so absolutely eclectic amount of reading. I also read Shakespeare for fun, or did in those when I was 12 years old, which is a weird thing to do, but as a real geek. And yeah, just never without a book. And even without a book, I'd sometimes be in my own little world. I mean, all the writers out there will recognise this probably, but I'd be walking along, inventing a story in my head and the dialogue that the two characters would have. And I didn't even know I was doing that, but I was creating these little worlds, these stories. And they might be a little bit sort of, carrying on from a book I'd read. Oh, I wish the characters were doing this now. And then my very first book that I attempted to read, I was 12, and basically it was Dracula fan fiction. I wrote about Christopher Lee kidnapping Maria. and that was my very first one, because I also loved, Dracula, and I used to be constantly watching Hammer movies. So that's my crazy childhood.
But I'm nodding along with you because I do read a lot.
You feel it. You did that too.
Very similar. T says she's nodding as well because the seasons do affect her when she writes. So she did answer your question back to you.
Thank you, T. Yeah, they do, don't they?
She says, what do you do to relax? We're going to have a live chat moment here because I'm going to read you the question and then I'm going to disappear for a minute because I need to plug my computer in.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
One of those moments. T says, what do you do to relax? I see you drinking my fave drink and I'm raising my glass to you.
Cheers, T. Cheers to everybody else tonight. I've been very good at the moment. This is only my first one tonight. And I may have another one after the interview, but I'm still not even drunk it all, so I'm doing well. Trying to control. I'm on a diet at the moment. Well, basically, what do I do to relax? I like my wine. My best time of day after I've done, because I literally treat writing as a job, so it's first thing in the morning till 4 or 5 o'clock at night. So after that, I like to cook. I love to cook, and I also love to sit and cuddle on the couch with my husband and watch movies. We love that. I'm also a classical singer, so back in the day I used to practice a lot for singing. Singing's very relaxing. I've been so busy though that the last 5 years writing that I don't do a lot of that, I have to say, but I would like to get back to doing a little bit of that just for myself, not for any other reason, just for R&R. It's good. I used to like going swimming when we could go. Can't do that now. I love sitting with my cats, and I've got one here, if you can see it. This is my little baby Sky. She's a Bengal. So I love cuddling up to her. She's great relaxation. She's very good for you. Keep you calm. Cats are brilliant for that. I would like to go out for meals. All of the things we can't do right now that I do and particularly entertaining. I love having friends round. I love doing dinner parties. That sort of thing, really. And reading, of course, is always on there because I never stop doing that. I've always got a book on the go one way or another.
So I have a question that I like to ask. Who are you like? I call them your shut up and take my money authors.
Oh, wow.
People who you just buy like without even looking at the back of the book because you're in for a good time.
It used to be a lot of Stephen King and Dean Koontz. In terms of crime writing now, I absolutely love Ruth Ware. I've only read a few of her books, but everyone I've read has just not disappointed. It has a flow to it. I love it. I really like Caroline England and Jackie Cabler, and I'm literally buy everything, even if I haven't got time to read yet. You know, I'm in the middle of writing a book. I might not be reading that for now. I might be reading something else. Um, I'm a huge fan, and unfortunately, and she became a friend later in life, Tanith Lee, who used to write a lot of fantasy, science fiction, a lot of vampire stuff. Huge fan of her stuff. Her stuff to me is very, very literary, and I love literary fiction as well. Literary, but within genre, is just gorgeous to me. Beautiful writing, and everything I picked up of hers just floated my boat, to say the least. I'm still discovering a lot of crime writers. I love Paul Finch. Paul also, I like a lot of his horror stuff too. He's one of those, yeah, I'm buying that. Everything he's got, I'm always buying it. I always get his books. Who else right now? I mean, there's just so many, aren't they? It used to be Anne Rice as well for a while. And she's not writing as much now, but I do tend to buy hers when she's got something new out. She's writing with her son Christopher now. And I just there's just certain ones. At the moment I'm in a little bit of a funny place because I'm sort of not reading as much horror and fantasy as I used to, and I'm airing more towards the crime and science, crime and psychologicals. Partly research too, because you also want to read what everyone else is doing to make sure you don't duplicate it. Try and come up with something different. Tim Weaver's great. His stuff is just, I love his narrative voice, actually. Really good. But there's so many, and I'm just like wading through so many now, so many names I've never picked up on before that I'm absolutely loving. So I think I'm just going to be, keep learning who I like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's
That's
so
one of the
many, you just
joys.
want to try more.
It's one of the joys of the author chats. You discover so many good new authors that you
Yeah,
didn't know you
exactly.
like.
Yeah,
Caroline England will be
absolutely.
made up to be on someone shut up and take my money list.
Oh, I love her stuff. I'm reading Truth Games at the moment. It's slow going for me, not because of the book, because the book's great. It's just because I'm so busy at the minute. So I'm like snatching minutes to read here and there, I'm going, right, okay, I've got half an hour, I'm gonna read, but yeah, no, I love her books. Yeah, she's lovely anyway, isn't she? A lovely lady as well.
Yeah,
And
really nice.
actually, Chris Curran. I discovered Chris last year when she wrote the Guest House Abby Frost book. Absolutely love that book, and I've got her now on my. I've got to get some of the Chris Curran ones now to read a bit more, because I just like her writing style. It just appeals to me. It flows beautifully. She's got, she's just really good writer. So for me, there's just so many brilliant writers out there. It's so fantastic. One for you to watch is Bryony Pierce. She's new in terms of writing crime, and her first one is out in April, which is called Girl on a Platform. And I've read it and gave a review blurb for it. Great story, really good. I absolutely loved it. And not easy to guess the end at all. Which is always a plus, isn't it? It's a big win. So yeah, she's one to watch, I think. I've read a lot of Bryony's sort of YA stuff before, but she's definitely one to watch in, I think she's going to have a great career in crime writing, thriller writing. She really is. So get out there and pre-order it, guys.
My dad was asking about the different genre question, which we've covered, but would you be tempted to write YA?
I've looked at it actually. I don't think it quite works the same with my brain. I've always written adult fiction, and usually my stuff's a bit sexy as well, so I don't think it really works with YA. I don't think you're allowed to write sex in YA, are you? I'm not sure. I guess I would like to do, if it was like Philip Pullman, and he did, the Amber Spyglass and all of those, and the Sally Lockhart stuff, which kind of crossed over to adult and YA. I could probably do that. But I don't know whether I could specifically think I'm writing for, 13-year-olds or something. I don't know really. It's a tough one. Mind you, if if it's asked, who knows, you give anything a go sometimes, and if it doesn't work out for you, don't go there again, do you? You just think, oh, well, okay, I'll try it. Never say never.
There's some great, really dark kind of YA and like mid-grade kids stuff as well, isn't there? So you can like not have to like sort of.
Yeah, I guess there is. I think you know what it is. I probably haven't read enough of it. I've probably not read enough in that genre to actually say. I mean, I did like Garth Nix, the Mr. Monday, series, those 7 books as well. They were great. I don't know whether they were YA, but I really enjoyed those books actually. Um,
I like to
and
Sabriel series.
yeah, the Sabriel ones, I used to love those. I actually thought they were way better than Harry Potter. I liked Sabriel so much more as a, protagonist. And also it's something for the girls, which I thought was great because, as you know yourself, Kaz, of being a teacher, boys tend to go along with just they prefer a male protagonist, but girls will sort of go along with anyone when it comes to reading. Because I mean, being a former English teacher, that was one thing that seemed to always happen. I think everybody's a bit more eclectic now in the reading and less sort of like that way now. But I don't know. I just really love the Sabriel stories. They were so much more exciting to me and a bit more grown up than Harry Potter, which I didn't really get along with that much. But I guess it's because I've read, as a English teacher as well, I've read some stuff that I've had to do for school and thought, ugh, but I've had to do it. And I guess it sort of put me off a bit. But yeah, there is so much more stuff out there that's a lot more exciting. You guys need to give me a tick list of ones to read actually and have a look at, because I'm very open-minded.
Well, one thing you'll never be short of if you ask anyone in the group is a recommendation.
That's true. I have to say, guys, I love this group. It's one of the most interactive, chatty groups that I've ever been in, and I really every day I see something, and I'm always liking things and enjoying the interaction and having conversations with people on it. Sometimes I should be working though, I have to be honest. I shouldn't be doing this.
That's always a problem, isn't it?
It's the problem. I shouldn't be on there. Enjoying it too much. Stop it.
So Anne Pierce has said hello and she loves your cat.
Hi.
And T wanted to know what your favourite classical song to sing was.
My favourite classical. I love singing O mio bambino. O mio bambino caro. I like what's that? The Flower Duet, the one that you recognise from British Airways. I don't sing that very well, but I like it. I'm not quite good enough to sing that, I always think. And I am actually very big on musical theatre. I'm classically trained, but I tend to enjoy musical theatre more because I love the drama of it. So songs like, gosh, you might not know the Scarlet Pimpernel as a musical, but the music from that is gorgeous. And there's songs in there that I really love to sing. Loved Don't Cry for Me Argentina is one of mine. If you're on my Facebook page, I shared my SoundCloud the other week, and it did have me singing the Argentina on it. So it wasn't my best day. But no, I love musical theatre actually, but I do love classical, and I love singing in Italian because it's the most, you get your notes so beautifully perfect because of the way you say the vowels, the way you use the vowel sounds in your voice. It's just gorgeous. So
Well, you've hit T's thing because she said she loves those.
oh great, fantastic. Do you sing, T? Is that something else we've got in common?
We'll find out in a bit. It takes a little bit of time to catch up. So tell us, while we wait for T to reply, tell us a little bit about yours, because you've got 3 books coming out really close together.
I have, yes. Yeah. The House of Killers, we've got first one, we've got Kill or Die, and then we've got Killer Spy, and the whole trilogy is called The House of Killers. And this is like being sort of described as Killing Eve meets Jason Bourne. To give you a summary of what the stories are about. Basically, it is about an assassin called Eva, who works for a mysterious organization called the Network, and she's not like Killing Eve in the sense that Killing Eve Villanelle. She's not like Villanelle in Killing Eve in the sense that Villanelle enjoys murder. Neva sees this as a job. So for her, it is, I do this, I get paid, I have no emotion. And the story, in a way, is about her journey to becoming something else, to change. And also, she meets this MI5 security agent called Michael Kensington, and they have a very dynamic relationship. And again, trying very hard not to do spoilers, but it affects him a great deal, and her, and a great deal of change happens throughout both of their lives because of this, and throughout the 3 books. So it's very action packed. We've got lots of murders in it. We've got some serial killers, even in one of them. Lots of twists and turns, which I really enjoy doing a lot. I like to just throw you off. I like to try anyway. No, a lot of you are too clever. A lot of you just know. You just suss it. But I try really hard to give you a surprise. And I'm one of those writers that when I'm writing, I don't plot. So I plot in my head, but I might write myself into a corner deliberately so that I'll go somewhere else that nobody else will be expecting, not even me, to try and make those twists happen, because I don't want to be predictable. Does that make sense, Kaz? Because, you know, I think there's nothing worse than reading something and you go, oh, I've heard this story before. You know, I want to do something different. So it is very different from anything I've ever written before. And House of Killers is out a week on 3 weeks on Friday, 26th of March, in ebook, and then it'll be out in June in paperback. But by then you'll also have book 2 will be out in May, and then July's 3. So so it's all rapid succession, so you won't have to wait too long. If you do like it, fingers crossed you do.
So when we all meet up in Harrogate, everyone can bring their 3 books to be signed?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to do that for you. Anytime at all. Yeah, brilliant. The more the merrier.
Now, a lot of our members will ask this question. Can people buy signed copies of your books from you?
Yes, I have on my website, which is samanthaleehowe.co.uk. You can go on, and if you go in where it says books, there is Sam's store, and you can click on there. You just have to click on the picture of the book and it will tell you the price. At the moment, there's only British prices on there for the and it's by courier, and it'll be sent to you by courier. You can send me an email on there. It gives you information. Send me an email about what dedication you want in it. But I've only got Britain at the moment because of the massive expense of sending anything abroad at the moment, and the all upheaval with Europe and America at the moment. But I'm hoping that's going to settle down. And of course, once lockdowns are over and we all feel a bit safer about going to the post office, I'll get those postal prices, which might be a bit better as well, because at the moment it's all courier and collection. But yes, I'd love to.
So T says that she used to sing with a group in her 20s on the pier at Hastings, but these days she's screeching.
Oh no, no, I don't believe that.
It's been a bit hard.
Maybe it's just, well, you know, I don't think I'm singing as well now, because I just think it's like a practice, isn't it, T? I mean, if you're doing it, if you don't use it, you lose it, basically. I mean, one of the things I used to teach singing as well, but I always find that if I do consistently do my exercises for a week, suddenly the voice is back again. So probably that's all you need to do. Sing some of your favourite songs that stretch you a bit, you know, but take it easy at first and warm them up till you warm up, and then maybe, you know, you'll be back to full form again soon.
Did you get back in contact with the same production agency about your new books?
I will be honest, I have sent them an ARC of House of Killers, and I keep being asked questions about it. So you know, You never know. There has been some interest elsewhere as well. So fingers crossed that things like that happen, something like that happens. I think, honestly, House of Killers would make a great film. But again, when I'm writing it, I see it as pictures anyway. I see it as a film. Just all unravels.
Have you got any advice for any other authors of how to get their sort of work out there to sort of production agencies and things?
Production agencies is a tough one because this is a new thing for me, and you know, there was a certain amount of coincidence happened as well. I'll be honest. You know, my book was seen at the right time by the right person, and there is an awful lot of that happens. But it doesn't mean that anything that isn't seen isn't good. It's just, you know, with writing, as most writers know, getting your work in front of the right agent, in front of the right publisher, it all, you can write the best book you want, but if you don't get the right person who really gets it, then you might never get published, and that's the sad thing about it all. And I think it's the same with filmmaking. However, one of the things I have observed lately is that there's an awful lot of content obviously being made. Netflix are looking for material all the time to buy. So at the moment, particularly inspired by this 12 months of lockdown we've had, I think there's more opportunities. So I think it's just getting your agent to do that, you know, make sure it's sent out to production companies. I think that's one of the important things, but that's a job for them. I don't know how they do that or why, you know, who they send it to or why, if you know what I mean.
So we're going to finish off with one of Sam's favourite questions. Since she can't be here, what's your most memorable moments as an author?
Oh gosh, memorable. Oh God. Oh, that's a good, oh God, there's been so many highs. There've been so many highs. I'm one of those people, I'm a really positive person, and I celebrate everything. You know, every little thing. Even one of my biggest highs was getting my new agent. When I got her, I have never felt so happy in my life because I just knew that my fortunes were going to change. I knew that my career was going to change. I knew that she was going to help, and it has. And it was a big, big high to me signing with HarperCollins. Oh my goodness, you know, the like the biggest, you know, one of the biggest publishers, and to actually think that I'm signed with them right now, it's a thrill every day. It's an absolute thrill, a dream come true. And getting your first book deal, seeing your very first book, but that never gets old. Every time I get a new book in my hands that I've written and I see it, particularly, I love the paperback, don't you? I love to have the paperback in my hand. The minute I've got that paperback and it's real, I've gone, oh, I've done this. This is my new baby, you know. So I guess every single thing is a new high, if you know what I mean. Getting a film deal, mind blowing. You know, I never thought last year of all years. And one of my most excited moments last year was being told by the publishing house that I'd just become a USA Today bestseller. Oh my God, that's never going to get old. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? I was like, never in my wildest dreams. No, just mind blowing. You didn't expect such a long answer then, did you, guys? Do go on.
T wants to know, does your husband read your books?
Yes, David reads them before anybody else does. David is a fantastic writer and editor in his own right. And to me, he's like my beta reader. So nobody sees it before he does. And then he'll come back with comments that are usually brilliant and intuitive. And he's also my biggest cheerleader. So he just thinks everything I do is wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. It's something we share. I do the same for him though as well. When he writes, I'm usually his first editor on something as well. So it's kind of a, you know, we do that for each other. And he is a fantastic writer as well. So, you know, it's great.
Do you want to finish us off with a reminder of your books?
Thank you. Well, obviously, if you haven't heard about it yet, Stranger in Our Bed, this is available now. Amazon have a good deal on at the moment on the paperback. And then there is The House of Killers, the first book.
My copy in the works of this one.
Yeah, I know they had it in the 3 for $5, didn't they? Yeah. And they and so you also have The House of Killers, and then Kill or Die and Kill a Spy, which are coming out in just a few short months, like within 2 months of each other. And I hope you enjoy them. At the moment, all of them are 99p in ebook. And you'll find also, if you pre-order now, you get discount on the paperback too. So, and I'm always willing to sign them if I see you. And do come and say hello to me at events. I love to talk to people.
Put a link in with a approved by me to your 99p.
Will do.
For this chat.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Kaz. Great interview. Thank you. Hope to speak to you all soon. You're welcome.